Hi friends and family, I wanted to share with you a life and ministry update. Some of you already know, but we are in the process of transitioning from Denton to Fort Worth. God has walked us through some really crazy seasons, one of which is, many of you know, my brother passed away a little over 2 years ago. And when that happened, as our family was walking through our grief and trying to adjust to that loss, I started to notice that my parents' health was beginning to decline. And so in January and February of this year, we moved my parents from Corpus up to Fort Worth, and they're both in a memory care facility. And so as I've prayed through and really tried to figure out what does it look like for me to serve my family, especially my parents, really well, my husband Randall and I started to really think about what would it look like for us to relocate. And as we prayed, we started to get connected to a new church plant that's going to be starting this fall. And as we were sitting down and meeting with the pastor, he started to share some of the needs that they had, some of not only just staffing needs, but being able to really engage the community. And as my husband and I got in the car, I looked at him and I just said, Shane needs a lot of help. And it was in that moment that I felt the Spirit say, well, what about you? You see, I've been at UNT serving at the BSM for 16 years, and so leaving was not something that I take lightly. And especially to have to go into these next steps, there were things that I just wasn't even considering. I hadn't thought about being on church staff. I hadn't really thought about moving into a position where I was gonna have to fundraise for my own salary. And as we prayed, we set aside 2 weeks and reached out to some of our closest friends and just said, will you join us in prayer? During those 2 weeks, God continued to open doors and to provide clarity. The first open door was He provided a house during one of the craziest housing markets we've seen in DFW. We put in an offer and it was accepted later that day. And then through some conversations with some great friends and mentors, it became really clear what this next step needed to look like. And so what I have done is I've started a nonprofit organization. It's called Catalyst Coalition. And the hope with that is, as I'm partnering with Mercy Hill, this church plant that's launching in the fall, that I will also be able to utilize some of my time to invest in local churches and ministries, to help them as they think through what does it look like for us to better engage our communities with the gospel. So my week will look something like this. About 70% will be spent working with Mercy Hill. 25% of my time will be spent really building relationships with local ministries and churches and trying to expand this consulting ministry. And then 5% will be spent still working as the chaplain for the UNT women's basketball team. But as I have prayed through, Lord, what does this look like? And just as He asked me, what about you? I now come to you, my friends and my family, and just let you know that this is a scary season for Randall and I. Randall looked at me and he said, so we're buying a house in one of the craziest housing markets. You're leaving your job of 16 years to raise support during inflation and a recession. And when he said it, I just couldn't help but laugh. And he stopped and he looked at me and he said, Steph, I don't think this is funny. And I just looked at him and I said, but listen, in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, it says the ways of the Lord are foolishness to those who do not know Him. Of course, God would do things in a way that makes no sense to the world around us. And so my prayer is that not only as my family and I step out in faith saying, okay, Lord, we know You're leading us here. We know that for this to work and for this new ministry to begin, that means other people are gonna have to step on board as well. And so I just wanna ask you, just as the Spirit said to me, what about you? I wanna ask you, what about you? Would you be willing to join as a partner, not only to pray, but to also to give, so that we can help not only minister to Saginaw through Mercy Hill, but also help local churches and ministries, as I said, better engage their communities with the gospel. I look forward to getting to have more conversations with you and getting to share a little bit more about what God is doing and where we believe He's leading. So as you watch this video, whether it be through an email, a text, or just online, my hope is that you'll follow up with me. You will let me know how you would like to be involved. And so I just also want to say thank you for all of the ways that you have walked with me and my family and Randall through our lives, and especially through these last few years as we've navigated grief, new marriage, and right now the changes with my parents. And so thank you for your support, for your love, and I look forward to getting to walk into these next new ministry opportunities alongside you. Thank you so much.